Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are doing well. Today is October 22nd, and it is Wednesday. It's definitely been a very interesting day in the news world. A lot of things are happening. But if you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated. We are trying to hit 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the year. I believe we can do it. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. And if you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing as well. All funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in college, like food, like my groceries. Those are the same things, like food, like clothing, like all of that. With that being said, though, let's get into the news from today. Moving on into the Trump administration segment, as we do, the first topic we have today is the White House is planning to demolish the entire East Wing of the White House. The Trump administration plans to demolish the entire East Wing of the White House within days, a huge shift after Trump said his new ballroom wouldn't even touch the East Wing of the building because he liked how the White House looked. White House officials told NBC News that the entirety of the East Wing will be rebuilt. Today, in a press release, the White House said critics were just unhinged leftists and their fake news allies, saying that they're clutching their pearls over President Donald J. Trump's visionary addition to the grand, privately funded ballroom of the White House. Now, we're going to make an attempt here because there is a picture that I believe is very important and needs to be shared of the current state of the East Wing. This is from the Washington Post, and hopefully my camera picks it up, but this is the current state of the East Wing. Gone, essentially. Eviscerated. It really is. I mean, they are tearing it down from the inside. Hopefully that showed up on camera. But Trump claims that he would never touch the White House building, yet he is out here destroying the East Wing. So what's going on here? You know, a majority of the things done by this administration and those related to it have pissed me off. They have. But this has very quickly reached the top of that list. As someone who has been enthralled by history since a very, very young age, I find historical buildings and locations like this extremely important. Not only do they tell a story, but they represent what this country has experienced and what it has been through. A few months ago, Donald Trump said that he would not touch the White House, and although he lies frequently, I was, willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Yet, that is not the case. He has now torn down a historical part of the People's House. Not Trump's house, not his house, the People's House, to make room for a ballroom that he will barely get to use. We have watched this man attack history and things sacred to this country, and once again, he is causing irreparable damage to arguably the most significant building in this country, which I find absolutely inexcusable. At a time where people are struggling across this country to whether that be to get food, whether that be to pay their rents, whether that be to find a job, he has chosen to build a ballroom and destroy one of the most important parts of our nation's history in the progress, which truly, genuinely hurts my soul to witness. I do not understand what it is about this man that makes him so able to get away with everything. You know, if any other administration you tried to tear down an entire wing of the White House, I guarantee you it would be a problem. Yet that is seemingly not the case here. And I find it insane. I really do. I mean, I have dedicated years studying and learning about Donald Trump and what makes him special. What makes Donald Trump the man he is, where he can go and do whatever he pleases without anyone stopping him. And the only thing that could make that somewhat possible is the people that fund him. Genuinely. The things like APAC, all of that. That is the only reason he is able to be so successful. Genuinely, that is all I've been able to find. He has been a terrible individual his entire life. He is a terrible businessman. I mean, he's gone bankrupt on multiple occasions, but he has also said terrible things throughout his entire life. There is nothing that should make that man special, yet for some reason he gets to have whatever he wants. And I think that's fucking insane. Genuinely. In other news, Trump introduced Darth Vader at the White House. While speaking at the White House Rose Garden, during a lunch for Republican senators, Trump introduced Darth Vader as a guest, which is apparently Russ Vought's, the director of management and budget income's nickname. Trump said, "I will say this, that we have Darth Vader. You know Darth Vader, right? Darth Vader is a man who I think is sitting right. Is that Darth? Stand up, please." Trump went on to glaze Vought, saying he was doing a great job at his work and, going on to say much more things about him. With how political Star Wars is as a whole, I mean, the entire series is political. If you don't see that, go watch it again. But at least they know what side they align with. Truly. One thing I never expected was the amount of Star Wars references we have gotten throughout this administration. Of course, during May the 4th, Trump posted an AI image of him holding lightsabers. Now, this, someone related to Trump's cabinet is being nicknamed Darth Vader. Very interesting, genuinely. Star Wars has played a huge role in my life and, in all sorts of things. And I never expected it to play the role that it does here. It has a lot of significance to me. I grew up in the same town as George Lucas. He went to high school with my grandma. RIP my grandma. But, it's played a lot of significance in my life. And, I genuinely never expected it to play the significance that it does within the Trump administration. But at least they know what side, they align with. In other news, Trump has declared himself the decision maker on if he gets 230 million in taxpayer dollars. Trump has declared himself the one who gets to make the decision if he gets 230 million in taxpayer dollars due to the Department of Justice investigating him after his first term. He said the decision will have to go across my desk, and it's awfully strange to make a decision where I am paying myself. Trump said, "It's interesting because I am the one that makes the decision, right?" The fact that MAGA is going to cheer for the fact that he is getting 230 million in their taxpayer dollars just straight into his pocket genuinely saddens me. That money could be going to so many other things. It could be going to paying federal workers. It could be going to providing SNAP benefits. It could be, going to a list of things that would be beneficial for the American people. Yet that money is likely going to pay for his ballroom, which shouldn't even exist in the first place. But hey, whatever satisfies the glorious leader, am I right? I mean, we really would be in a better place right now if we stuck to what George Washington believed in when it came to political parties. That being that they shouldn't exist at all, genuinely. Uh, you know, they should not exist. Neither of these parties or their leaders should or truly represent the American people. None of them do. They really do not. If it may seem like that, genuinely, it might seem like that, but at the end of the day, very, very few politicians do that. And I think the only one that I could name is probably Bernie Sanders. There might be a list of other fews who don't accept APAC money and all of that, but genuinely, there are very few politicians who actively represent and who actively work to support the American people, which is sad. I mean, both of these parties, both the Democrats and the Republicans, fail to represent the American people, which is their job to do. They fail to do that on a regular basis, and yet people support them anyways, which is so stupid to me. I am a strong believer in the fact that everyone should be an independent. I'm kind of going off track here, I know that, but the fact that we have made it to a point in this country where political parties are really the dividing factor, and both of those parties that are the dividing factor don't even represent the American people and their values in the first place, is a massive problem. Down with the parties and up with the stars and stripes is something that should be preached by all Americans because George Washington was correct when he said that political parties would be the death of us. Moving on into our other news segment today, a senator has conducted a marathon speech. Jeff Merkley, a Democrat from Oregon, spoke on the Senate floor in a marathon speech for 22 hours and 39 minutes, preaching against grave threats from the Trump administration. He started speaking at 6:30 p.m. EDT on Tuesday and ended at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. His talking points consisted of Trump's deployment of the National Guard to Portland, the ending of research grants to universities, and the indictments of the president's political opponents, which he argued all represent a serious threat to democracy in the United States. In his opening remarks, he said, "I've come to the Senate floor tonight to ring alarm bells. We're in the most perilous moment, the biggest threat to our republic since the Civil War. President Trump is shredding the Constitution." He said, "President Trump wants us to believe that Portland, Oregon, in my home state, is full of chaos and riots. Because if he can say that to the American people, that there are riots, he can say that there's a rebellion. And if there's a rebellion, he can use that to strengthen his authoritarian grip on our nation." I wish this got as much national attention as Cory Booker did, because he clearly here is speaking for the American people. Not to mention Senator Merkley also does not take APAC money. He's also the only Oregon senator to do that, so huge round of applause for him, genuinely. There are very few people who do that, so I am glad to see that he is not one of them, unlike Cory Booker. You know, which of course is likely why he did not, get the national recognition that he deserves. But hey, he went out there and he went out there and spoke the truth. Donald Trump can preach whatever lie he wishes, but at the end of the day, it is going to be false. And that should be recognized on the national level. Anyways, moving on into the next topic today, Gavin Newsom has deployed the National Guard to assist food banks. California Governor Gavin Newsom has announced the California National Guard and volunteers will be deployed across the state to support food banks. This comes as 5.5 million Californians are expected not to receive SNAP benefits due to the government shutdown, being unable to fund CalFresh, which of course is supported, by SNAP benefits. I don't know why I lost the word there. The state is also putting up $80 million in emergency funding for these services. This looks to mirror similar actions taken during the pandemic to keep families fed. In a statement, Newsom said, "Trump's failure isn't abstract. It's literally taking food out of people's mouths. This is serious, and this is urgent and requires immediate action. Millions of Americans rely on food benefits to feed their families, and while Republicans in Washington drag their feet, California is stepping up once again to fill in the gaps." This is absolutely great news, and hopefully it will help assist people who are struggling throughout the country. Another win for my beautiful home state of California. And although I do not like Gavin Newsom, I respect what he has done to help Californians and to protect Californians during this administration. Through his time in governor, he has failed time and time again, whether that comes to, the homeless population in California, whether that comes to high-speed rail, or a list of other things, that he has failed to do. He has been able to succeed in this administration in protecting Californians, which is something that I am very grateful for. California is a beautiful and amazing state, and without a doubt, the best in the union. No offense to anyone else, but fourth largest economy in the world. What can I say? Um, but in my time where I've considered, where I want to run, and since I've spent time in Colorado, I really have realized that I miss my state a lot. And when I have the opportunity to run, and when I do run, I would love to run in California. If I can find a place to represent, and if I can find a place that will accept me to represent them, I would take that opportunity without a doubt, without a question. Anyways, moving on into our final topic tonight, Indiana does not have the votes to pass gerrymandered maps. Indiana Republicans do not have the votes to pass redistricting that would benefit Republicans in the upcoming midterm elections, despite pressure from the White House to do so. According to a spokesperson for Senate President pro tempore Roderick Bray, the votes aren't there for redistricting, said Molly Swigert, Bray's spokesperson. A spokesperson for the state governor, Mike Braun, said in a statement that their governor is still having positive conversations with members of legislature and is confident that the majority of Indiana State House Republicans will support efforts to ensure fair representation in Congress for every house. This is great news, and helps against the battle in redistricting if this remains to be the case, which hopefully it does. For those who are wondering, no, I do not believe I am related to this Bray, but scarily enough, he does look strikingly similar to a lot of my family members. I looked up some pictures of him, and he looks way too similar to my dad, but hey, you never know, I guess. Hopefully, a vote does not take place in Indiana to pass a redistricting, but I guess we shall see if that happens or not. With that being said, though, thank you everyone for watching today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. It has definitely been a very interesting day in the news world, that is for sure. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated, as we were trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year on YouTube. I believe we can do it. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. And if you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing as well. All funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in college, like my groceries, like clothing, like things for making these videos, and all of that. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. With that being said, thank you all for watching today's episode, and I will see you all